We have to mention those shorts that Ian was wearing on Friday night in Glasgow. Is he getting those tailor-made or something?
I think they're painted.
Painted onto it.
House of Rugby Ireland, here on Joe. Game changed.
Hello and welcome to House of Rugby Ireland here on Joe, and I'm Eimear and Fergus, and I'm joined in studio by Fergus McFadden and James Tracy, Leinster and Ireland hooker. James has gladly come in and kindly agreed to stay and do the full show with us after even Elisabeth picked up a concussion and unfortunately can't join us on the show today. Thank you so much for coming in, James.
No worries, Eimear. Thanks for having us.
We'll chat about the PRO14, and we're going to mention the reports linking the Jagaures to a surprise switch to European rugby. But we'll start with your game at the weekend. How are you feeling? How's the body going after that?
Yeah, all good. Glamorous fixture in Rodney Parade. Yeah, we've had it's a bit of a banana skin to go there and lose some points. So we're delighted to come out of there with a bonus point win. We conceded a decent few tries, so it's plenty of work to be done there. But with the conditions, we're pretty happy with 5 points.
Is that their usual type of tactics, just to slow teams like Leinster down?
I think it's everyone's tactics to slow the other team down. But yeah, the conditions definitely didn't lend themselves to a free flowing game, and the pitch was like a mirage. You walked out, you looked like it was perfectly flat, and then you put your foot in, and there was water coming up around your feet, and that slows you down a bit. But no, we dug in and got a good result. So yes,
that away fixture though, it's definitely one that I don't miss from retiring. We were talking just before we came on the show, Trace, that I think there was one time in the 10 years where we went away, and I remember it being sunny over there. So always a tough one, and particularly at this time when the lads have a lot of the internationals away. But in fairness, the depth that the boys have at the moment. So it was a good performance by the lads. And
is it still strange walking out into the crowd, or lack of crowd, walking onto the pitch? Does it feel like a training session, or are you well used to at this stage that this is how it is? Yeah,
it's never going to be normal, I think. I said before, it's even at an under fives game, if your parents roaring at you, running up and down the sideline or whatever, and gives you a bit of atmosphere. But it's not great, to be honest.
At least you still have Ron O'Donnell.
Yeah, exactly.
The team manager
running up and down the side.
He gets pretty vocal, to be honest.
Apart from the bit of energy you get from the lads in the extended squad and the backroom staff, it's pretty dead, to be honest, and probably not something anyone wants to get used to.
No, and I think for viewers at home, it's nice to hear that what goes on in the scrums and the ref chatting to you, and you can actually hear almost everything. It's nice. It's a different type of thing that people like us at home wouldn't have got to watch or to hear, and you can really see the leaders and hear the leaders, I suppose, through the mic, which is a nice thing as well. Ferg, the main talking point about this game, I suppose, was that the two Byrne brothers were starting together, one at 10 and one at 12. How do you think that went?
Yeah, well, I saw Harry was poking a bit of fun at Ross on Instagram there. He put up a picture of the two of them standing side by side and saying, good to teach the wee man a couple of things or something like that, which is funny because I think he's a small bit taller than him. But yeah, it was cool to see the Byrne brothers get a game starting together, because Ross proved that he can play 12 or 13. He filled in that game, I think around a month ago, and had a great game there. That's we all know that 10 is his best position, but sometimes if you can get those two distributors on the field, it's very, very hard. And I know that game wouldn't be a good example because it was so hard to throw the ball around. Yeah. But exciting. I'd say it could be a bit more comfortable at the Sunday dinners if they're both in the team, as opposed to them trying to kick each other off the team. So
can you see the rivalry or training between them?
It's brotherly rivalry. I don't think it's a direct rivalry, but even if they're they play cricket in their living room and stuff like that, they're always competing with each other. But it's all in good jest or whatever. Which on the golf course, in the living room, I think the competition never stops the two of them. But luckily for us, they're both pretty good at everything they do, so we're benefiting from that.
Absolutely. Can you tell that from a long time, people have been speaking about Harry Byrne and Ross Byrne, obviously, but more so people talking about Harry before he even made it. How hard is that as a player, that people are looking at Harry as the next, Irish out half, and that was his, first time starting with Ross. Has he played Champions Cup? Has he started Champions Cup yet? No.
No, yeah,
So,
he was due to start in the Northampton game and he pulled out with a back spasm.
But like, it's a lot to, there's a lot been put on his shoulders, and he hasn't even been on that stage yet.
Yeah, well, I think he'd be the first to admit, like, he's behind Ross. So, like, people can say what they want in the media and stuff like that, but Ross is ahead of Harry, and he's proved himself over a number of years now. He's almost like a bit of a leader in there, at a younger level, but the same as Johnny. He marshals the boys really well, and I'm sure Harry is still learning off him. So Harry's had great performances for Leinster with the opportunity he's gotten, but there's a stepping stone to it. He does have to play a couple of times at European level, I think, to kind of prove himself before people start talking about him in a test environment.
Yeah, there's a lot of players like that, there's a lot of pressure put on them and they still haven't done the step-by-step. And I'm not saying you have to do a step-by-step approach and you have to tick this box and this box and this box to get there, but it would definitely help as a player to like have it behind your head, I'm good enough to be here because I've done X, Y and Z, as opposed to being thrown in to the deep end.
Yeah, I think like that's the great thing about sport, isn't it? That we can all kind of talk about the different possible combinations and what's the most exciting and what's going to work. Whether it's rugby or football or whatever, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion on that. And yeah, as I said, like we're just lucky that like they're both class in their own way. So lucky to have both of them on our team.
Another man I think you're very lucky to have is Jack Conan, another man of the match performance from him at the weekend. Is he somebody that we could see being brought into the Irish squad ahead of the Italian game?
Yeah, it's delighted for Jack. He put in another big performance. And it shows his kind of character that he's done so after being left out by Ireland, and he's had a tricky year with injury. He picked up a man of the match performance against the Scarlets away and again against the Dragons, like two tough games when, people forget during this time, even though Leinster have such strength and depth, like when there's guys coming in from camp that haven't been in using different calls, other guys that were there, and the disruption throughout a week, it can be quite hard to put, an all-round performance in. I think Jack is getting back to his best again. I've no doubt he will get plenty more caps into the future, but I'd say you'd be looking at an injury before he breaks back into the Irish squad, because Andy seems fairly happy with the back rows that are there.
Yeah, absolutely. Ulster had another great win away, 1913 over Glasgow Warriors, with Craig Gilroy and Mike Lowry getting the all-important tries. They unfortunately didn't manage to get the bonus point. How, I suppose, lucky or unlucky for them, as a Leinster man, they're right behind you. They really, really needed that bonus point win to stay within reach of you guys.
Yeah, there's still plenty of season to go though. It's obviously not the perfect outcome for them, but they're a really good side, and they'll keep taking over. Like, they've had a really good season so far, so I'm sure there'll be plenty more opportunities to pick up points.
Absolutely, and 11th try assist of the season for John Cooney. He's doing all he can in an Ulster jersey, really, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's just got a few strings to his bow, doesn't he? That other nines maybe, in terms of the kicking, that other nines maybe don't really have. But in saying that, Luke McGrath was outstanding for Leinster as well. So I think when you look at those two scrum halves, it shows the depth we have there. And those guys just got to keep knocking on the door. I think Luke again played brilliant the other night and against the Scarlets, and John Cooney's been playing brilliantly for Ulster. So who's to say that one of those two guys wouldn't break back into the Irish squad before the end of the Six Nations if there's an injury or two?
Especially with Conor Murray, I suppose, with that hamstring injury as well, that, we don't know how bad it is really. But we must mention our very own Ian Madigan, and he was one of the standout players for Ulster at the weekend, starting at out half and really pulling the strings. He even played a bit of emergency scrum half near the very end of the game. He was actually third choice scrum half in that 2015 World Cup.
Yeah, he was probably in Joe's ear there before Joe picked the squad to go. Going, I can play scrum half and a goal kick and X, Y, and Z. But I think he actually did. I think Mads did play. I'm sure he'll tell us when he's back on the show definitively. But I think he did play 9 for quite a bit when he was growing up, because we all know he's a bit of a short arse. Yeah. But sure, his skills are so good. You can kind of throw Mads in any. He is one of those players you could throw him in any position in the back line. So I definitely say he'd rate himself as a 9 as well.
We have to mention those shorts that Ian was wearing on Friday night in Glasgow. Is he getting those tailor-made or something?
think they're painted, are they?
Painted onto him. Yeah, he must have been rummaging through Anna, his fiance's drawers before he got out there or
I
something.
think Anna's a makeup artist. I think she might have painted them on before he went over. But yeah, listen. If you're gonna flaunt them. Like he's rocking it. So let
He
him off.
absolutely is. He's proud of them, for sure. On Saturday, the Irish provinces made it 4 from 4 as Munster beat Edinburgh and Connacht had a bonus point win over Cardiff. James, did you happen to see any of those games?
I caught the end of the Connacht game. I think the weather forecast was due to be pretty bad, and it wasn't as bad as with a win, but they did pretty well. They just muscled them up at the end of the game, really, and kind of like put the pressure on them that way, and got a few tries, so it was good.
Alex Wootton is a winger that I think you would have seen in your nightmares, I think, with the speed that he has. Did you
Not
play
at all,
against...
Not at all. What are you trying to say?
He's just how slow he is.
Jeez, I was sorry, I forgot. I forgot you were Usain Bolt yourself.
I'm just going on what you said.
Someone really slow like you, obviously. Very true.
Well, someone with a headband that just can't run very quickly. And
Winger with a headband. Come on. Thought he was in the second row there. Just, you said with your retirement and that, that these kind of players are the ones that, gave you the nudge on the way out. But did you ever play against Alex Wootton? He actually got 2 tries at the weekend. He's some pace on him.
Yeah, he is. He's got the kind of electric pace that you can't put a price on that as a winger. And I think he's done very well since he's gone to Connacht from Munster. I did mark him in a game once, I think, either coming off the bench or he came off the bench. And yeah, one of those guys just with that X factor of pace. And I think you've seen maybe him, his form improving, just getting that repeated game time in Connacht. He was probably in and out with Munster. And I think some players, that's all they need before they can kick on again.
Yeah, he's done really well since he signed, and I think he was on loan from Munster to Connacht. But there's been quite a few of those boys that have really flourished in Connacht, that they're getting repeated game time, they're getting opportunities that they weren't getting in other provinces.
Yeah, no, it's sometimes whether it's you're not what the coach is looking for or the way the team plays can be a huge factor in how you get on, and you can get lost in your own mind, thinking, maybe I'm not good enough or whatever. And sometimes it's just you're not the right fit for that team at that time or for that coach. And maybe a move is the best thing that ever happened to you. I think there's plenty of stories where it's been the best thing or the opposite. But I think
Tom Daly has kind of proven that. Tom Daly and even Sammy Arnold as well. 2 players that have played brilliantly for Connacht, and I think it shows people that it's become more normal to move from province to province, but even from people to just look abroad maybe a little bit earlier. And I know it's easy for me to say after staying in one club, but I think sometimes when the opportunities aren't there, you just need a window. Like when some guys just get one game to impress, and whether it goes well, if it goes badly, they're not in for quite a period of time. Can knock the confidence in that. So sometimes moving on where there's more opportunities can be the best call, and you can see those guys are great examples of that.
Yeah, another man who took a great opportunity at the weekend was Craig Casey. He was involved in that Munster win over Edinburgh. He just plays with such energy. I don't know, did you get to see a lot of the game, but even when he got substituted off in the 70th minute, he was sprinting off the field. He just has energy. I actually read a tweet saying that if Craig Casey was giving out the vaccines, the whole country would be vaccinated at this stage, that he's just so energetic with everything that he does.
Yeah, he was very lively in that Edinburgh game. He scored an important try there where he dummied and went just underneath the posts, and yeah, as you said, he was sprinting back. He obviously trying to prove a point to Andy Farrell that he's ready for the Italian game. And yeah, just good to see young guys coming in like that with high energy. And I think the likes of Gavin Coombs and Casey in Munster, it's great to see Munster producing some really good homegrown guys, because that's what you want in the home provinces across the board.
I think on the other end of that, Billy Holland getting his 240th cap, I think, is great to see. He's a top bloke and an absolute servant for Munster. So on the other end of the spectrum, one for the old guys, he's I don't think he scores many tries, but he's definitely a serious operator.
It's not all about the young guns, what you're trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Something like that.
I think he equalled Ronan O'Gara's record, didn't he, of 240 caps?
Did he? Was that it? Was that the
I'm
record?
not sure who the top one is, but is there
It's
many in
Donegal
Leinster?
Callan, I think.
Donegal, is it?
Yeah.
Is there many in Leinster with that kind of those numbers?
Darce,
Jamie or Darce, Gordon Darcy and Jamie Heaslip would have been right up there.
Yeah.
I'm sure Jamie Heaslip probably would have got on for another 50 if he hadn't have got that back injury. So,
Big Dev is up there as well.
Big Dev would be around there, yeah. Sure, I think Dev, the only time Dev has been injured his whole career was I think it was the morning of a game. He cut his finger really badly at home. Something fell, I don't know whether it was on the glass or something like that. And he was fine, he played the game, but I think he's only missed a handful of games through his whole career. I think in the second row, he's just so durable. So
I think he only ever injures people. He doesn't get injured himself. Like never on the massage beds, never in the physio room.
So he's not one of those guys that's constantly, doing his yoga, taking care of himself, getting his prehab in. So what is it? What's the secret to not getting injured?
Whatever Dev's doing, you bottle it up.
I think his bones are just a different density than ours. Like when you're that big,
Yeah, he's on a different plane to everyone else. So he's just kneeing people, elbowing people, but never taking any damage himself.
That's it. All the dangerous parts are too high up that people can't even get to
it must be it. But whatever it is, he needs to bottle it and sell it because he's been available for his full career, which is unbelievable.
That's mental. Finally, it's been widely reported that the Jagaures, who reached the Super Rugby final in 2019, are now looking to get involved with the Guinness PRO14. The proposal from the Argentinian Rugby Union would see the Jagaures based in Bilbao, where you guys won the 2018 Champions Cup next season. What do you make of that, the PRO14 going to the PRO15 or however many teams they want to bring into this?
Yeah, well, from my perspective, I think it's that's the first I've heard of it, but I think it'd be pretty cool. I remember friends asking me what I thought about the South African teams joining, and I was like, it's class. Like, you get to experience new places, playing against different teams, and I'd never been to South Africa before, and I'd obviously never played against any of the teams. So that experience alone is class. So I think it's only positive, really, if it did happen. Now, whether it does or not, I have no idea.
Could be a good night out as well for the away trip there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, something a bit different.
A little bit better than Rodney Parade.
Yeah, slightly better. Similar conditions.
Slightly better weather as well. It's always good.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's it for part one. We'll take a short break and we will look ahead to round 3 of the Six Nations. To take you there, here's a little clip of the UK's House of Rugby show as Lee McKenzie reunited Sean O'Brien and Jonathan Davies with All Blacks legend Jerome Kaino.
Just before we talk about Antoine Dupont, I just want to say, Sean, are you and Jerome okay? Because I think the last thing that a lot of people will remember is basically you coming off worse, and it's not often we say that.
I've come off worse in this battle a few times, so I have to mind you. But that one was I had a little bony fragment floating in my shoulder, and I was like, of all people, the one person you don't want to hit you going into a ruck is Jerome, and he caught me on the sweet spot that day in the third test, and I was in the change room at half time going, fucking hell, no, this is me done for the day, because I just had no power left in my arm. But someone you want to be trying to avoid on the field more so than I'd rather be playing with him, to be fair. But we've always had a good catch up afterwards, so there's never been any beef, as they say, with us.
Jerome, how do you remember it?
I think I almost did more damage to it after the game because I felt so bad. I saw him in the sling and I was just like, man, I'm so sorry I didn't, because I'd known before that he had problems with his shoulder, and then seeing him in the sling after the game, I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate.
I don't think the sling stayed on too long, Jerome. I think the next day there's a picture of me with Kyle Sinclair. I don't think I had a sling on anyway.
I don't think I saw the sling on at the hotel later on.
No. I think the few pints helped me to numb the pain.
Foxy, have you managed to stay out of trouble when it comes to Jerome? Do you just run the opposite way in the backs?
Well, I tried my very best for years, but I think one test in Cardiff, I think Aaron Smith gets penalised, and I try to get the ball off him, and he's like he's keeping hold of it, and I start like pushing him because he's the smallest guy in the pitch, and then I just feel this big fist grab me on the shirt. He says, don't touch him. I was like, no problem whatsoever, I won't touch him. I didn't get badly injured as Sean, thankfully.
I remember that. There's a funny story to that. Earlier on that year, I think Aaron got roughed up by a couple of second rows from the Springboks, and we reviewed that game, and Steve Hansen was just like, "There's so many forwards standing around Aaron, and you guys let this happen. Don't let it happen again." He didn't mean like throw punches or anything. So when that happened, I was like, "This is my chance to be able to make up for it."
Yeah, there's no second rows, just a pasty Welshman there in front of them. So happy days.
Well, I never like those situations anyway. I like to conserve my energy and stand back a bit. But had to look after my halfback.
House of Rugby Ireland, here on Joe. Game changed.
Sean O'Brien was there talking about Jerome Kaino leaving him in a heap during the Lions All Blacks' third test in 2017. When it comes to the hardest you've ever been tackled, what instantly jumps to mind, James?
I think Sean needs a fact checker with some of the stories he's coming out with that I've heard. The Shoops, people talking about the sheep,
that story about the Shoops never happened.
Never
like
happened.
I was in Leinster
I'm
at that
pretty
stage.
sure it
And
never
also
happened.
him saying that people from Dublin didn't know where Tullow was is also incorrect. So
Yeah.
a few tall tales going on there.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like him to let the truth get in the way of a good story. But,
You guys are both from Kildare, you shouldn't have anything about that.
Exactly. Sure, I was in the pod at the time. I was like, that did not happen. But anyway, bit of salt and pepper on the story.
He's looking for headlines.
Yeah, I reckon mine is, I was actually me tackling someone. So we were playing against Northampton, and Courtney Laws, like he put in a few like late shots and tens, and I was looking and been like, I'm gonna come on and absolutely whack this lad. Like looks a bit of a beanpole, like never played against him. I was like, going like hitting the smallest lads on the pitch. Like I'm gonna absolutely melt them. Anyway, come on the pitch, and ball's coming off the edge, and like it was going to 10, and you could see 10 was going to play it to him. So I'm like, right, I have like, this is perfect. Ball's going to be there for ages. I'm going to get full steam at him, and literally hit him with everything I had. And I genuinely reckon he didn't even know I touched him. Like, he just like dropped his hip into me, and I was like in a heap on the ground. And like physio comes over, and like my arm is like stuck in this position, twitching. And he's like, "Yeah, you'll be fine. Yeah, play on there." I'm like, yeah, gee, I don't think I can here. He's like, yeah, you'll be all right. But it was definitely a humbling one. Thinking I could whack him, but he genuinely steamrolled me with his hit. It was like a little flick of the ribs. Like,
Man, G's got a bit of a habit of that, because so Gareth, we call him G. He's our head physio and has been for years. He's a top guy and a great physio. But for medics coming on, obviously at times, there's so much going on between people down looking for water and all the rest. Obviously, initially they come and they want to make sure or see why the player's down, what's wrong. But we played against. It was against Glasgow years ago. I think it was the final of the PRO14 in 2013 maybe, or 14, I'm not sure, I can't remember which one. But I hit someone in a tackle on my right side, and it just didn't feel right afterwards. And it was like, I felt my face and there was blood coming in the side of my face. And I felt my ear, and my ear was like, it was like hanging on by the bottom of my ear, which is obviously pretty horrible, and the feeling of it is like, oh Jesus. So G comes on, and he like kind of grabs me by the face and looks at me and goes, what's wrong with you? And I was like, G, my ear is hanging off my head. Like, can you not see that? The blood just squirting out the side of my head. But
Did he just tape you up? Is that where the headband came from?
he just taped me up, yeah. So I played on, and then I got it stitched, like 30 internal and external stitches. So from then on, I just had to wear the headband every week.
And was that a big blow, big tackle, one of your biggest hits, or was it just like...
Oh, sorry, that was... I actually just veered off there for that, talking about Gareth, but the biggest hit was probably also actually when I tried to hit someone. So I tried to hit a guy against Edinburgh. He made a long break, a guy called Damien Hoyland, and he changed direction at the last second, and I was in a position to hit him quite hard, and because he changed direction, I hit him kind of here and went up. It was a high tackle, in fairness, and it didn't look great. But when I hit him, my jaw hit his shoulder, so I was out cold almost before I hit the ground. So I definitely came out of that tackle a little bit worse than he did.
Probably one of those this season in my time thing. You were always hit of the year. It was a highlight reel of you and Issa just whacking lads.
I think Jerome Kaino was playing club rugby in Japan when you played the All Blacks in 2012. Did you ever come across him in club rugby for Toulouse?
I didn't, but Tracy actually would have when we were playing them over the last couple of seasons when Jerome Kaino went there, because we played them in a 3-test tour in New Zealand, and Kaino wasn't there at the time. He wasn't in the All Blacks team at the time. It was McCaw, Liam Messam, and Kieran Reid. So thankfully he wasn't involved at that stage. But James would probably tell you what, because he played against Leinster and was extremely good in a couple of games. But
yeah, I would have played against him a couple of times, but like yeah, he's obviously a freak. But we probably had a lot of possession when we beat them in the RDS when he would have been playing, so he probably wouldn't have featured as much. But yeah, they've like a huge pack, and he's definitely like one of their talisman.
He also spoke about how much of a base fee the All Blacks players get for test week. He says they'd get the equivalent of £4,000. That pales in comparison to the English players who get around £17,000. Like, how much are players motivated by money?
I think players are motivated by money to an extent. I think you'd be lying if you said they weren't. I think, listen, it's a business at the end of the day from both sides. You know, whether it's Leinster or whether it's the players. You know, you're putting a lot on the line. You know, you're in terms of your body every week, in terms of training and games. So there's a price, and the price comes with the money that you earn. It is funny that some unions pay more than others. Obviously, the RFU just generate an awful lot more money, and they're in a position to pay guys. But when you hear the difference in match fees there, it's pretty astonishing.
Especially for the All Blacks. Like, is it just more the pride of the jersey then?
Yeah, I'd be surprised now if that was like if they were
Fully
getting a
true.
bit more on the side. But yeah, they definitely commercially, I think being an All Black would definitely be pretty lucrative, I'd say, and they probably get it back in other ways. But yeah, as you said, it's not necessarily fair how it's done. But yeah, I think it's probably done on or definitely done on the revenue that each country's making from it, so that's how they can afford to pay a bit more. But I don't think anyone would be complaining if they're getting as much as the English players are getting.
No, absolutely not. So James, we'll come on to you and talk about you and your rugby career. From talking to Fergus earlier, he seems to have a database of stories on you. Have you come prepared with some stories to tell about him? We heard he was an altar boy.
She's trying to turn us against each other here.
That's true, actually. No, I've got nothing.
An angel, altar boy, Fergal.
I know, nothing too bad. I want nothing. Ferg's always been. He was always one of the kind of guys that would have been sound to the younger lads and put an arm around you. Well,
you're not that much younger, man. You're only
so this story's actually a lie. Just not
you're only 3 years younger there. Relax.
Oh, it's way younger. Way sound.
It's where you're just after coming out of the academy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It was talking about the young boys.
I've had serious crack with Ferg over the years, and in the trenches, on and off the field, no better man.
You played at Loosehead as well. When did you switch to hooker, or why did you switch to hooker?
So played Loosehead, yeah, all the way up and I was third year academy, and I just didn't have the frame, to be honest. And Joe Schmidt put me into the office and just said that did I have any aspiration of kind of kicking on and hoping to play for Ireland or anything like that, and I obviously said I did. So he just said, I think you should try moving to hooker, and that was it. Just started throwing the next day and went from there, really. Probably had a Byrne period. So I know we were talking about earlier about guys moving, and I've been a good thing. It was probably good that I didn't move and didn't get pushed in or a chance. Not that I didn't deserve a chance, but that I wasn't kind of trial too early, because it did probably take me 3 or 4 years before I felt properly comfortable playing. Like the first kind of 2 years, every time the ball kicked out, I was kind of like, oh no, yeah, oh no, like having to go over and thing. But you just get confident then with it, and the more you practice and all that. But yeah, it took me a while to get used to it, but it was clearly the best decision that could happen. So very grateful to him for that.
Absolutely. You both are Kildare men. We won't talk about the GA in Kildare, but how big is the rugby scene now in Kildare? I suppose a lot of it comes from the school's rugby side of things.
Yeah, huge. You know, Newbridge College doing the double, the Corona double, is huge for the school because you know
Phantom double.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Did they share the actual trophy? It never got played.
I don't know. We'll just take the win.
Yeah, you'll take it. You'll take it.
But yeah, no, like and the school's come such a long way, and where credit's due. To Bob, the principal, and to all the Jono and all the backroom staff. Like there's too many to list off, and Johnny Murphy and Dave Brew and all who would have been there when I was there, and they've done such an amazing job on building the school into what it is now, and actual contenders in the senior cup. And I have to mention Naas Rugby Club as well. It would have been where I started off. And you know would call my home club. They were brilliant to me all the way through, and even Dave had a serious jump up the ranks in the last few years, and it's brilliant to see. And all the kind of lads now are finishing up or going there instead of going to Dublin clubs, which is great.
Yeah, really good. How important is the school system or clubs like Naas, I suppose, for the development of Leinster Rugby?
Oh, they're key. I think the guys that come into the fact that Leinster can pick the guys they want from the Leinster schools senior cup and just bring them into their academy. So some of them are almost ready-made pros in the way they prepare every week and the way they train and the way they live. The academy system has always been great in Leinster, but I do think that they do have a massive advantage because the school system in Ireland is very good, but it's the best in Leinster. There's no real argument there about that. So very, very lucky for Leinster to be able to pick up those guys. And I do think it's good though to see guys still breaking through from the youths. You have a really good centre from Naas who's just breaking through, Jamie Osborne, and James just talked about Naas there. It's encouraging to see those guys breaking through because people forget that within the schools rugby, they're training on the pitch 4 times a week and then a game at the weekend, and that they could be doing 2 or 3 gym sessions, whereas the youth guys go to school, they might play Gaelic football, but then they train twice a week. So to see those talents still coming through, you've got some rich history of great youth guys that have come through, the likes of Sean O'Brien and Tyg Furlong and others. So it's good to see another bright light coming out.
And is there ridiculous rivalry among those clubs, in Kildare, or would you be friendly then? Would a lot of them playing in Naas Rugby Club, so would you play your club rugby together and then go off in completely different schools teams then?
Sorry, what do you...
Just, would there be rivalry among the schools, like huge rivalry among those schools, or would you play club rugby together in Naas Rugby Club and you're all, it's friendly rivalry?
Yeah, it's friendly. It depends who it is. Like, it's definitely lads I've hated over the years, but there's a lot of lads, like, you just get over it really, especially when you leave school. I can never understand people who carry that on, like you find people you probably hate on the pitch end up in someone you'd be really good mates with once you get to know them, because you probably hate them because one, they're probably good, and the other is that they're probably more like you than you realise. Like, you're probably not the nicest person
you
to
and
be playing
Gilly.
against either. Like.
You and Gilly.
Yeah, the guillotine. Yeah,
Conor Gilson was in Leinster and then he moved over to London Irish, but you lads would have played against each other in schools,
we locked horns a few times. So
you would have hated him initially and then got
no, I
to know
didn't
him.
hate Gilly, but there's plenty of lads in his team I did hate though. No, he's a great leader and a great lad, and I would have lived with him, had good crack with him over the years. But you have rivalries, you school rivalries. There's actually a fella, Paul Mullen. I'm actually not sure what he's up to now, but I played against him in school, and we were digging the head off each other in a game in Newbridge College, and went to Ireland under 18s camp. And I was rooming with him, like that. Honestly, the most awkward thing ever. Like, he was there first. And
especially because you don't know, I don't know about you guys, but you never know who you get until like you open the door and you're like, hey.
So I just went in, put the bag down. It was pretty like
round 2.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that was a funny one. But yeah, again, like, he got over it then, and like it was probably the best thing that happened to us. We laughed about it and got on with it. But
you would have held a grudge for life otherwise.
No. I think he poked the head off me again the next time. But I didn't hold the grudge anyway.
Put manners on you.
No, you're definitely not holding a grudge. You played in the 2011 Junior World Cup or World Championship, and there was some great lads on that team.
Yeah, I think pretty much the whole starting 15 went professional, and we definitely underperformed for the team we had, but yeah, we had a great team.
The likes of Furlong, Marmion, Jackson, Mack, and
Ian Henderson, Conway, like it was Luke Marshall, literally like the Tiernan O'Halloran, like there was so many top end lads. So great crack we had, but we definitely underperformed, which is definitely a regret. But yeah, everyone kicked on and did well.
Yeah, Leinster Rugby. I suppose everyone. You actually can't watch a game without someone saying, like, you know, the Leinster Rugby production line or the Leinster Rugby conveyor belt of talent coming through, and it is the case in almost every position. There's 4 top quality, if not more, hookers in that Leinster squad. Yeah,
it's great. Great for the coaches. But yeah, like it seems to be. Well, we're going through a good period. I think everyone ebbs and flows, club wise and with the player pool that comes in. But yeah, definitely in hooker at the minute, it would be nicer if it wasn't as competitive. Yeah. But yeah, listen, it keeps all of us on our toes, and without giving you a boring answer, like I understand how hungry they are because I was in their shoes not that long ago, and they're talented lads, in fairness. So it really does, like, gets you out of bed in the morning, so it keeps you hungry.
Does it mean you have to have your A game every single time you step onto that field?
Yeah, well, like, I don't try to have a bad game ever really, but
even every session
it just means
you do.
the consequences are just like greater, I suppose, than if you were nailed down with no one behind you. So it just means, like, you're, you know, if you have a bad game, like, you know it's coming, like, you know, the Grim Reaper's coming on Monday morning to let you know.
Curly finger.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We spoke about that last week, Ferg, avoiding Leo.
Yeah, I was saying about dodging him sometimes if I knew he was going to not pick me, and just go for a bit of a longer walk around the gym when I saw him.
Yeah, lads who lapse at the gym on a Monday morning trying to avoid eye contact. But
lads jumping into cupboards and stuff. But yeah, I think that in Leinster that culture has come in, particularly probably when Stuart arrived, about, you know, training at a certain intensity that you should be ready for the games. You know, it's obviously it's contact, but at times, cardio-wise, it would be tougher in Stuart sessions than some matches, and that's where the environment he tries to create, so that when you do get your opportunity, you can go well. And you know, it's tricky though, because if some guys are trying to break in and they get their one window and it doesn't go too well, there's so many players. You know, James just said there's 4 hookers, 4 international standard hookers there at the moment. Like, one of the guys has a bad game, they might not get back in for a month, so that can be the frustrating thing about it.
Yeah. Some bad news after we did the podcast last week was we broke about Dan Leavy having his surgery. How gutted, I suppose, are you guys as a squad for him having to go back and have surgery and miss the remainder of the season?
Yeah, absolutely devastated for him. He's a really good friend of mine, and but I think, you know, like, no one wants to see someone close to them have any sort of setbacks or adversity. But it's nowhere near as bad as the last thing that he's already come through. So he's just about him stomaching the process of getting through it, and no better man to get back and play really well. I actually think his last game against Scarlets, like, it's not as if he went off injured, you know, and I think that's kind of like shows you the level of it. It wasn't a catastrophic injury this time round, but I thought he was brilliant. It was probably the best he's been since he's been back. So at least he knows now he can get back to that level, and be excited to see him getting back, you know, in a green shirt in the future as well. Yeah,
hopefully. And was he really diligent with his return to play and his, like, everything? Did he tick every box along the way?
Yeah, well, I suppose I was still in the squad when Dan was coming back, and the injury happened. I think it was something like in around 18 months before that, and you know, that horrific injury did pick up against Ulster in the Aviva that day, and you know, sure, there was some tough conversations had for Dan with specialists and all the rest as to whether he was going to be able to get back. But honestly, that coming back from that injury, from as far as my whole career, seeing anyone come back from injuries, was the most impressive comeback I've ever seen. You know, he he didn't mope about the place. He just got back out once he got the operation. He just got back on with it. He had just missed out on a World Cup as well, which he definitely would have gone to, and probably been one of the best players at it, and would have been such an important player for Ireland. But yeah, as James said there, it's great to see him, getting back to himself. It was always going to take a couple of months, and I think that his form was really picking up. So thankfully, this is just something minor he's going to get done, and I've no doubt he'll play for Ireland again.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to talking about playing for Ireland, you 6 caps for Ireland, but haven't played a test since 2017. How encouraged were you to get called back into that Six Nations squad last autumn? Lots of competition, but you're still targeting that green jersey?
Yeah, it's so close, so far away. Like I think like if you're starting for any of the provinces, like you're within touching distance of it, and that's like the main focus really, is to try to be starting for Leinster, and if you're starting for Leinster, you're in with a serious shout of getting an opportunity. So try focus on that, and anytime you get called in, it's a huge honour, and genuinely, cherish every time you get it. The Nuggets always tell me about his omelets in the
shower.
In the shower, yeah. So you got to cherish the good times while you have them.
That's what it's for. You got your first cap back against Canada, and the week after they beat the All Blacks. What was that week like getting your first cap? With the squad on a high. What kind of environment was it like?
It was obviously, like, everyone who you asked that question, it's like surreal feeling, and it's class. I had pretty fall from grace at the end of the week. We were doing our pitch session, about to bags were already packed, ready to go to Chicago for the game or whatever. And as the pitch session finished, Conor Murray had a bit of a tight calf or whatever, so they changed their plans on who they were bringing as a reserve, and I got tapped on the shoulder and yeah, you're actually going home now, not going to Chicago. So
did they
have a good weekend?
And you were due to go otherwise.
You're due to go over, yeah.
Oh my
God!
God.
So, but Conor was actually fine for the match.
He was fine, yeah.
You need to take that up with him.
Yeah, actually need to take it up with him.
Missed the best night out.
Shout out
Best,
right now to Conor Murray.
Over with the it was the ball in the Bulls arena and all that sort of thing.
And they just won the World Series
I know,
as well
yeah.
before that.
Yeah. So
Cheers, Mur.
Yeah. Thanks a million, Mur, for that one. But it would have been a cool experience. But sure, yeah, it was a good fall from grace. But no, I did the first cap was class.
It must have been slightly tainted though after that week. That's hard.
Oh,
to
I'm not
come
gonna lie, it was pretty. I ruined my week. I don't know, it's part.
You seem to have gotten over it though.
Yeah.
It's not shouldn't shoulder or anything. No, I haven't carried on. But that's rugby for you though. Life in general, it humbles you fairly quickly.
That's brilliant. We'll get on to our Six Nations preview. Italy versus Ireland at the weekend. Andy Farrell says he will go with the strongest possible team that he thinks could beat Italy. Do you still think that there'll be a lot of changes to the squad?
I think I said this on the last show that because there's probably been a few forced changes in a few positions, he'll probably might try and get a bit of consistency because the level of performances probably haven't been where he would have wanted them to get to. So, but I would like to see him try a few guys out there, give a few guys opportunities. If you've got the likes of a Craig Casey in there, this is the first opportunity. If you're going to put him in the extended Six Nations squad, why not? This is the time to maybe use him, and maybe if you have him on the bench, or you use him, or else give him a start. I think give him a start maybe with Johnny, and Johnny could kind of lead him through the week as the half-back pairing. I think that would be a nice thing to see. But otherwise, I'm sure it'll be injury dependent as well. It's about how the bodies have gotten through from that French game. It was a bruising encounter, and how the guys went this week. But there's a few interesting selection calls I'm sure we'll see. Yeah,
there's been a lot of talk this week about Mike Catt's influence of the attack play, and Andy Farrell is now 14 months Ireland are now 14 months under Andy Farrell. What are we looking for in attack from the Irish squad?
Tries. Like, that's at the end of the day, we're in the entertainment business, and like we all just want to, like that's what Ireland are setting up to do, is to score tries, but international defences are very good, so it is very hard to score tries. So I think any team goes out to put on a good show and try to play the most exciting brand they can.
It's not simple. Like you said, the defensive lines, there's very little gaps, there's very little mistakes made these days. Like what do Leinster do? What are teams looking at? Like how are they planning to get over? It's not just, it can't just be gain line and go the whole length of the pitch. What are teams trying to do these days?
Well, the defence has changed. It's evolved over the last kind of, what would you say, like 4 years. It's kind of gone from that having your 9 kind of sweeping in behind the line to wingers up high and 2 in the backfield instead of 3, which means it's a lot harder to run the ball, and you probably have to kick the ball a bit more, like attacking kicks, and I think like that's an area where teams kind of have to attack by kicking the ball, and that's probably frustrating to watch as a supporter, but that's the reason why teams do kick so much. And when you get into the 22, it's just been efficient then and tightening it up. And again, it's not the prettiest thing to watch, but it's the percentage plays, and that's what wins games.
Finally, news from France today that Julien Marchot and Arthur Vincent are the latest players to test positive for COVID-19. That comes hot on the heels of the other cases, including Antoine Dupont. That's 5 players now out of the Scotland game next weekend. That surely, has the potential to open up the championship after hearing those players missing from the squad.
Yeah, it'd be a huge blow for them. And you also don't know, how many close contacts within the squad those guys will affect as well. Because if they're playing by the book, you can be sure there's a couple of guys that might be taken out as well. So yeah, very disappointing for the French because they were flying, but it's just what the Scots need after getting beaten by Wales. So yeah, I think we talked before the championship started, and we talked about, probably England and France, and we were a bit predictable with who we thought would go well and win it. But it's just such an open championship, so it's made things even more exciting, even in a peculiar way.
Yeah, I think people will definitely be tuning into that, just because people will, obviously based on Scotland's performances up until now, but also, that's given them an extra opportunity to beat the French, which, it's just making it more interesting.
Yeah,
like you said, you're putting on a show for people week in, week out.
Yeah, so both of those sides are, they play an unbelievable brand, but, like the French try against Ireland that Peno finished off, or, like Finn Russell he's he can pull passes and kicks.
Stuart Hogg in the form of his life.
Yeah, Stuart Hogg. Yeah, he's beaten, I think, like 15 defenders or something like that, and so far in the competition. So yeah, it'll be a good one for the neutrals to watch. So excited to see it. Absolutely.
So cheers to everybody for watching and listening today. A big thank you to producer Pat, Paul, Dermot, Anthony, and everyone that helped in getting this show together. This has been House of Rugby Ireland here on Joe. Slán go fóill.
House of Rugby Ireland, here on Joe. Game changed.